This is Kathy Williams, and I'm delighted you're here with me today. We're going to be talking about what are you putting up with, and how can we change that so that you don't actually put up with anything. So, whether that involves changing our attitude or taking action to create change in your life, there are actually 9 areas of life that 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 kind of stop people, and almost any excuse you have for not changing something fits into one of those 9 boxes. So we'll talk about that, and I also have a whole Zoom class online about those 9 different areas, because it's really powerful to take a look and see, like, oh, where am I stopping myself? Where could I actually have more fun, more joy, more of what I'm asking for? Um, and like I said, usually our excuses, our reasons for not having that, fit into these different categories. So before we dive in, I'm Kathy. I've studied all sorts of things all over the world to make my life better and the lives of my clients as well. You know, in the year 2000, I started doing private yoga sessions with clients, and pretty quickly I realized, hey, you know what? They're coming in because they say their back hurts, but their back is not the real issue. It's deeper than that. So then I would collect tools, from pranic healing to neurolinguistic programming to coaching to all these different things. And that's kind of like my toolbox that I function from, where it's like, oh, what does this person need? And then whip it out to help them. Recently, well, it's funny because when I was 19, which was quite a while ago, and then again, it's come around recently, I've been really diving more into the tools of non-duality and had some insights, and life has opened up in magical and amazing ways. So, because it's basically the nature of who we truly are is oneness, and we can conceptually say, well, yeah, I get that, but it's a totally different thing to have an experience of that. So I kind of weave that in and help get you beyond your mind as the way you relate to the world. And I love to hear from you. One of the best ways to find me is at meetkathywilliams.com. And there you can sign up for a free money rain exercise and a create your life exercise, as well as, hear past shows and also reach out to me. I love hearing your radio show ideas. And in fact, that's how I get some of the best ideas and have some tremendous guests coming up as well, some authors who are just going to blow your socks off. So I'm super excited to have those conversations. So you can subscribe to the mailing list there and be updated for all that stuff. Also, you can call in. You can head over to iom.fm to call in if you're listening live on October 8th. All right. So, what are you putting up with? Chances are you tuned into the show because there's something. And it might be big, it might be small. The inspiration for this show came to me as I was reflecting on some things in my house, particularly like screen doors, like the floors, things I would like to create change around. And recently I set up a really cool healing space, and the guy who was going to help me with it, I asked him in August, and he said, oh yeah, I'll get to it next week. Guess when he got to it? He got to it like 3 days ago. So that's like from August to October. And so sometimes it's a matter of looking at what's going on and saying, okay, am I okay with that? Right? Am I okay that this guy says he's going to do something and then he doesn't actually do it? Or what else would work better for me? I myself didn't get upset about that situation. I happen to know this guy and how unreliable he is in a way. However, if I see the materials sitting around for a long time and I'm upset about the situation, I have choices. And we always have choices about what to do or what to choose or how to be. So if you've listened to this show for a while, you've likely heard one of my strategies for sort of filtering through the choices we have. And that is called the brain dump, where essentially you commit to sitting for 5 minutes with your energy going in the direction of finding solutions and strategies without filtering. Okay, because the filtering mind has, it's critical, it's discerning, it judges, oh, that idea is stupid, that idea maybe has legs, that no one's ever done before, so I wonder, okay, what you do is at the top of the page, you can write what's going on. So I'll give you an example of like one time I had a dog, and every day when we would leave the house, me to go to my healing sessions, and I used to do healing at corporations, I would go, and then when I came back, the dog had strewn the toilet paper all over the bathroom, like every single day. Okay. So I have solutions, right? If I sit and that's my thing that I'm focusing on for 5 minutes, what strategies could I use? Well, I could get rid of the dog. I could shut the door to the bedroom so he doesn't get in. I could put the waste paper basket way up high where he can't get to it. I could leave him out of the house all day. I could do all these things, right? Some of these things, obviously, I'm not going to do, right? I'm not going to get rid of the dog, or I'm not going to. So, but we're not filtering all that right now. We're just writing whatever comes to mind. Okay? Knowing that some of those things are not going to be our answers, but just getting it rolling in the direction of creative problem solving actually helps us see more. And you may not end up using any of the things you write out on your paper, but they can help you get to a new idea where it's like, oh, wait, if I combine these two things, that's going to work out amazingly. Have the neighbor watch the dog all day, whatever it is. So all you're doing is committing to letting your creativity run wild for 5 minutes. And maybe you'll come up with the idea that lights you up after 2 minutes. That's totally cool to stop, right? Oh, I got it. This is what I'm going to do. But all these things that we think we're putting up with suck our energy a little bit. Like if I come home grumbly every day, that's not a fun space to be in. If I look at that screen door that's got that little rip, it pulls my attention. If something else is going on that I don't like my neighbors arguing every day, and either I have to change my attitude or address it in some way to create change. Otherwise, these things pull at our attention and our energy in ways that keep us from being fully present right here, right now. All right. So one of the things that inspired the show was a question that I was given maybe 3 years ago. And it's like, what is one easy thing to change that you just haven't, but it kind of bugs you? And for me, that was that my kids were little And so every time they pushed the screen door, they would push on the screen and it had ripped. And I didn't change that, you know, and it was like that for probably 9 months. And I was asked this question, what little thing could you change that would make a big difference for your life? And for me, it was that. Because every time I would see it, it would irk me. And also you think about like, well, maybe bugs are getting in or whatever. And so I had to look at what would it take to change that? Well, actually, not very much. Right? If I want to be a little scrappy, maybe some super glue, who knows? But I got the handyman and it was fixed within like 3 days. And so that little thing pulling at my energy no longer did that anymore. So that's the question I'm going to ask you right now. What little thing, if you changed it, would make a big difference in your life? And are you willing? Are you willing to change that? One of the things I started to look at with each activity when, let's say I have a to-do list, but you can do it with this, is how long do I sense this action will take? If I have to write an email, how long will that take? Oh, that one, maybe 5 minutes. This one, maybe 10 minutes. Okay. If I have to write a show write-up, how long do I sense that will take? And then, you know, maybe for you, it's, oh gosh, to me, the garage, like the dirtiness of our garage feels like it's a little thing that would make a big difference. Okay, cool. How long would it take to change that? Oh, it would take an afternoon. Cool. Would you be willing to dedicate an afternoon to doing that? Or if not, it's okay. Or if not, is there someone else who would be willing to help you? In which case, maybe it would be quicker. Or if not, can you change your attitude about it? Because it's irritating you, but not enough for you to dedicate an afternoon to changing it. So of course you can do the brain dump and come up with different strategies. Sitting there, what solutions could there be for this? And then, am I willing to choose one of those? How long would it take? And then, if you're unwilling to change it, what's there to look at there? Okay. Oh, the garage doesn't really irritate me. It's more that I think other people don't like the way it is. I'm fine with the way it is. Okay. If those other people are really relevant, would you be willing to help them clean it up? Or are those people really relevant? Like, oh, no, it's okay. Yes, when I pull in the garage, my neighbor sees my stuff or the dirtiness, but it's not a huge deal to me. Can I change it so their judgment doesn't matter? That would involve changing your own perspective because you're not going to change theirs. Okay. Living from the space where other people's judgment is not about you. It's such a huge gift. So we really need to assess, like, is this really something that bothers me, or is it something I think should bother me, or something that bothers another person, therefore it bothers me? Or is it something I have a story bothers, like I have a story that this bothers my neighbors? And so I let it bother me every time I look at it. So we get to play all of that out in our heads and then in the world. Right? Oh yeah, it is worth me spending an afternoon. I would feel so much calmer to do that. Like for me, I love when my dresses are color, like in the closet, the black is here, then it goes to the white, then it goes to the yellow, then it goes to the, like, to me, that relaxes my nervous system so much. But to you, it may not matter one bit. So assessing whether it really truly is something that's important to you, or something you think should be important to you, or something that you think is important to others, therefore it should be important to you. So useful to take a look at. So we're going to go take a break. And when we come back, we're going to dive into the 9 areas that tend to stop people up. So stick around. Thanks for being here and listening to Sexy Mom Abundant Life, IOM.FM or meetkathywilliams.com/radio. Thanks a bunch, everyone. Welcome back to Sexy Mom Abundant Life, everyone. This is your host, Kathy Williams. And we are talking today about what are you putting up with and what's stopping you from changing that. You know, sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's, as one listener said, shared traumas. I share traumas with the other person, so I'm putting up with their behavior. So we're going to dive into the 9 categories that almost every excuse for not changing something fit into. And if you like to have a pen, you may like to draw a little grid that has 9 boxes. That is up to you. Now, if you're doing that, 3 boxes will be at the top, 3 will be in the center, and 3 will be at the bottom. And I'll guide you as to which words you can put in there. So the first 3 are kind of what I call lack of time, right? No one can really argue with you when you say, oh, sorry, I don't have time to help you move. You know, that's hard to argue with that. So the first 3 on the top are what I think of as like lack ofs that are hard to argue with. And the next one would be money. If someone's trying to sell you something and you're like, well, nope, sorry, don't have the money for that, they could probably put up an argument. But at the same time, it's a legitimate excuse in most people's worlds. The third one would be lack of energy/health. Oh, I'm too tired to do that. I'm too sick to do that, right? Again, kind of hard to argue with. Now, the next row in the grid are also lack ofs, but they're a little different. So, lack of information or ideas. Okay. So I would like to have a better website, but I don't really know how to do that. Okay. That would also go kind of into the next, or I would like to have a business, but I don't know what kind of business to have. I would like to write a book, but I don't know what to write about. Lack of information or ideas. This is the next box is really more where the internet thing comes in. Like, I would like to have a website, but I don't know how. Lack of skill. I would like to ride a unicycle, but I don't know how. I would like to get on TV, but I don't know how. Okay. So I'm not good at it yet, would be lack of skill, right? Oh, I would like to go on TV, but I'm not good at public speaking. I'd make a mess of myself. Lack of skill. And then we have lack of belief. So I don't believe I could do that. Yeah, other people can, but not me. Lack of belief. Okay. Now, the last line is a little bit different because it's not all lack ofs. Okay, we have unmotivated. Well, I would like to clean out my garage, but not enough to really want to spend an afternoon doing it. Okay? Lack of motivation. Then we have fear. I'd like to go on TV, but I'm afraid of what my family will think. I see this one a lot. Okay? I'm putting up with my job at work because I'd really like to do my side gig more, but I'm afraid of making that transition, or I'm afraid of what people will think, or I'm afraid, like that. That one creeps in a lot. Yeah. And then the last one, which goes hand in hand with a few of the things I just said, is other people. So the last box of what's stopping you is often other people. Oh, well, I'm afraid of what they'll think. Or, well, I have 2 kids I've got to support. So I can't go off and do that business. I just have to put up with this job that I hate, or the boss that I don't like, or living in the town that, yeah, yuck. I have a client who's been like, I hate this town. And one of the things we changed about that is her belief about living in the Midwest and what that's like and what the people are like and all of that. So sometimes these boxes, most of the time actually, have more to do with what's going on between our ears than what's going on in what I might call videotape reality. So if you've used Instagram, or even if you've used like a camera or or photos on your computer, there are filters that are available. So a lot of times when we're seeing the world, we're not seeing the world as it is clearly. We're seeing it through our filters that make it look scarier than it is, to make it look like we don't have the know-how to do something, to make it look like someone else is going to disapprove. And I'll give you an example of this. So one thing that I was sort of putting up with is I love to travel, but I had decided that, well, I have 2 kids. You know, it's not so easy to travel with 2 kids, so therefore I just have to do my business, you know, where I am on the island of Maui, which is not a bad place to be. But and then I started to look at this, and you know, if you look at the boxes, what is limiting me? Maybe, for one, other people, right? I think that other people are limiting me. But also the idea, like the belief that these 2 people are limiting me. So I started to think about, oh, what would actually work for all of us to enable me to travel, to enable them to have a situation that maybe they may like better than being with me all the time. And I found a solution that allowed me to travel and allowed them to have fun and allowed grandparents to be happy. So I took them to Grandpa and Grandma's house. They got to go to fun camps and stuff like that. And I got to go travel and then come back and travel some more and come back and then take them home. Okay. So most of the time, as we look at this grid of lack of time, money, energy, or health, information, skill, or belief, motivation, fear, or other people, you know, it's like the things that are really stopping us are right between our ears, our thoughts. And if you sit down with the brain dump, which we talked about in part 1 of the show. Or just ask the question, like, what scenario could work for all of us? Is there something that could work better than I could have ever imagined? If so, what is that? What would create greater possibilities for all of us? And just get really curious about that. Because this attitude of curiosity is super useful for helping us, come up with new insights. And as I said, insight, I thought of the lack of information or ideas category. That to me goes oftentimes alongside the category of lack of skill. Because the thing is, no one was born with the information and ideas that you're seeking. No one was born with the skills that you feel you need. Like, oh, well, I'd really like to hang this painting, but I'm afraid. I don't know how to hang a big painting. Okay, cool. There's a YouTube video for that. Or I'm putting up with not getting myself out there, right? Maybe not just showing up on a video, or what is it I need, right? I don't even know what I need. Okay, Google it. What do I need to get my book out in the world? An agent. Okay, cool. What do I need? Like, information, ideas, and skill are not things you enter the planet with for your particular thing that you're looking for. Whether it's, oh, I'd like to learn to paint, or I'd like to have a better website, but I don't know how, or I want to be able to be a good writer and I'm afraid, right? All of these things are skills and information that you can acquire. And part of it is through asking questions and getting really curious. Okay. So as you look at this, what are the premises? What are the stories you're living by as though they're real? And start to help yourself see that's made up. I'm making it up that I can't travel while being the mother of 2 young children. That's made up. I'm making it up that I can't have a good website. That's made up. Right? Without paying a lot of money, or whatever story you have, right? Look at it and remind yourself you're making up that story. You're actually also making up the story of who you are, but that's a whole different conversation. So I'm just going to rattle off the 9 different areas again. And some things I've had participants do in workshops are label the 9 areas with a number. So lack of time might be box 1. Lack of money might be box 2. Lack of energy, box 3. Like that. And then look at why you're not doing what you say you'd like to be doing. Or what you say is important to you. Well, an example is I once said that writing this blog post was important to me, but I wasn't doing it. And I didn't do it for like 3 weeks. So finally I said, okay, well, if I'm not done with that by Friday, then clearly it's not that important to me and I'm just going to drop the whole thing. So setting a deadline is also really useful for us, because then, I have all this energy going into, I should be making this, I should be doing this, and I'm not. So I set a deadline and then just let it go if it's not done by that date. So looking at each of those boxes and then identifying which one of those things are stopping you. Oh, well, I'm letting the story of not enough money stop me from having a good website. How else could I get that? Well, I don't have the skills. Okay, cool. That's another story you're telling yourself. I don't have the skills. You can obtain the skills. Or how could I find someone who's relatively inexpensive? Or where could I find someone? Oh, maybe at a college. So I'll ask around. The universe is so supportive of us. But if we keep saying, oh, I can't, oh, it's not possible, guess what? You're closing doors to the possibilities. And you say, okay, what are the other possibilities of having a great website, or of having neighbors that really get along, or having, you know, interactions that work for me? And as we go into the third section of this show, we're going to talk more about those people we're putting up with, those challenging situations we're putting up with. So looking more at that. So far it's been more of the things we're putting up with that mostly we have control over or can create some change about. When things involve more interpersonal relationships, they can get a little more squirrely. So that's where we'll go next. But as we go to break, just start to reflect on, okay, which of these are the predominant stories I use that keep me putting up with things that I could really change? That wouldn't be too hard to change. Like, the dishwasher, that little part fell off the dishwasher, and so it's a little hard to push the drawer in every day. So, okay, well, how long would that really take to fix? Would I require someone else? Could I watch a YouTube video? Could I just buy a part? Do I need a whole new drawer or a whole new dishwasher? And start to strategize, like, can I set a deadline to change this so that it doesn't constantly pull up my energy every time I do the dishes? All right. Thank you so much for listening to Sexy Mom Abundant Life, everyone. We are going to be back with the next part of the show that focuses more on interpersonal relationships. And in the meantime, feel free to visit meetkathywilliams.com to download your free money rain exercise. And always feel free to write into the show right there at meetkathywilliams.com. Welcome back to Sexy Mom Abundant Life. This is Kathy Williams, and we are talking today about the things we're putting up with. And sometimes those involve other people. So before we dive back into the show, I would love to invite you to check out Ho'oponopono in the shop at meetkathywilliams.com, because the changes that people write in telling me about are massive. And so as we head into the domain of interpersonal relationships, you just want to make sure you're equipped with some amazing tools. And the Ho'oponopono class there in the shop gives you tools that transform things that you've been putting up with for a long time. I had one mother, she said, Kathy, every time we went to the beach, my daughter would just be so irritating, and it would be an unpleasant experience. And so after the Ho'oponopono class, the next day we went to the beach, and it was totally different. Like, we had a harmonious, a wonderful time. So, and Yosa wrote in and she said, we had been looking for a therapist. Like, our week was kind of spent looking for one. And after learning Ho'oponopono, we don't need one. Like, our stuff, our agitation just dissolved. So these tools they've been in use for a long, long time because they work. And as a listener to the show, you can get the whole Ho'oponopono course with 2-hour recordings and then some separate practice recordings at 20% off. And that code is SM Radio. So check that out. Go buy it. And hopefully you'll have the changes just like the ones that people are writing in, and even more so. So that said, one of the things that is the constant in our relationships, right, wherever we go, is us. So changing us and releasing our buttons changes how as we release our buttons, our little points of frustration, that transforms how we respond to everybody in our lives. Of course, some people usually there's a little more friction than others. And so what are you, let's just preface it with this. What are you putting up with in your interpersonal relationships? I have a friend who was so frustrated that he could hear his neighbor's TV. And at the same time, he never said anything to the neighbor. So again, if we were to do the brain dump, sitting with a piece of paper, just coming up with all sorts of strategies, we could say, oh, well, every time my neighbor has TV on, I'm going to put earphones on and listen to music I love. Or maybe not even with earphones, just put the radio on or the computer on and block it out with something I really enjoy. Okay, that's one strategy. We may not want that strategy all the time. You could actually say, hey, excuse me, I can hear your TV from my house. See, this is something my friend did not do, but he was irritated every time his neighbors watched TV, right? So are you not speaking up? And then, is there a reason? Usually there is. Oh, well, I don't want to, be upset. I don't want to hurt their feelings. Okay. So you're going to go around irritated again and again and again and again and again out of fear of hurting their feelings. Okay. Well, okay, let's say that's your reason. I'm afraid of hurting their feelings. I'm laughing because I have a friend who is on his friend's email list. And he said, I don't like receiving these things every day. And I was like, well, how about you just tell your friend, hey, I get a lot of of things to read every day. Could you please take me off your list? Oh no, that would hurt his feelings, right? Yeah, but you're not being authentic in the relationship. Okay? If you're truly being authentic, you can come from a place of inspiration and say something in a way that's not hurtful. And then they see that you're coming from that place of like, I really care about you and I care about our relationship. And this is going on. I wonder how we can navigate that together. The kahuna I worked with gave me a phrase, and it's always, this phrase is always useful for not putting someone on the defensive, right? If we want to say something and address something, but don't want them to be defensive. Oh, I'm confused. Could you help me with this? I'm confused. I thought we agreed that we would talk about that tonight. And you didn't seem ready to talk about that. So could you help me out? So when you say you're confused, you're getting them to help you. You're getting them on your side rather than, we didn't talk about this and you said you would, and then that's automatically a retaliation type stance from the other person. Okay, so I'm confused has really been a huge help for me. I'm confused. I thought we agreed on this price and this amount of hours. Could you give me more information and help me understand? Right? Rather than, you overcharged me and you did way more hours than you said you would. Right? Getting people to, or even with the example I gave earlier, right? My handyman person said he would do my job that I asked him to do in August, and it happened. It occurred. It took place in October. Oh, I'm confused. I thought you, we're going to make time for this in August. Can you help me navigate this so next time we could do it differently? There was a woman whose husband did a lot of cabinetry work, and her own cabinets were suffering. And she was very frustrated and annoyed by that, right? He prioritizes everyone in front of me, in front of us. And that's really not fair. So she was advised, get someone who's young and strong and hardworking to just do your cabinets. Get someone who, you enjoy having there in the house to do your cabinets. And she did. And at first her husband was a little like, what's going on here? Why are you going around me? But he ended up realizing, oh yeah, I am way too busy to do all of the jobs that I'm expected to do. And he hired the person that she had hired onto his team so that he didn't have so much work to do. Yes, being afraid of hurting someone's feelings feels like a valid reason for continuing to put up with stuff. But at the same time, you need to look at, is it really worth it? And is there a way of addressing it that wouldn't hurt their feelings and you could both get your needs met? And if so, how? What could I say? What would work? Because really, if you're afraid of hurting someone's feelings, within that is fear. Okay? So you're walking around vibrating fear. And choosing from fear creates more fear. Okay? You're not choosing for the greater good when you're acting and reacting and behaving and choosing from fear. Okay. I'm not saying don't run from the guy in the dark alley. Okay. But we have to look at, okay, what am I resonant with? That's why I think Ho'oponopono is so powerful, because it gets you into a place of loving, and releasing the charge on things. And puts you into the space of functioning from inspiration. And when you're functioning from inspiration, you don't have to pre-plan what you say, because you can trust what you say is going to be the best possible thing. It's kind of like unfiltered from inspiration versus your mind's wrap around and dance around and trying to control outcomes. Sometimes hurting someone's feelings is the best possible thing you could do. I know that sounds really weird, but if they're functioning from dysfunction, and you say something that helps them see that dysfunction, yeah, they may feel hurt for 10 minutes or 2 years and have an insight that catalyzes their whole life forward. Right? You're responsible for being as congruent and aligned and kind in a way, but not for their feelings, right? No one else is responsible for your feelings, and you're not responsible for their feelings either. You know, that's mostly not how we've grown up. Most of us have been taught to respect everyone's feelings and this and that. Yeah, you can respect them, but also realize that you're not responsible for how they feel. That's their story, and their head is informing how they feel. And then you can always provide some clarity. Oh yeah, that is what I meant, or that's not what I meant, or whatnot. Another person I mentioned earlier, you know, I'm putting up with this because it's a familiar pattern. Yeah, so many of us would prefer to function from what's familiar than from what would work better. A trauma bond. And we get to look at, is this still working for me? What would work better? On meetkathywilliams.com/radio, there's this little handout. You can print it out, put it, you know, somewhere where you'll see it. It's, I'm choosing this. So I'm choosing to reinforce the trauma bond in this example. And I'm choosing this because I think it works for me. Does it really? And what would work? What would I rather choose? And that, I'd love for you to have that. Again, it's at meetkathywilliams.com/radio. Kathy with a K, Williams with an S. I'd love for you to have that because it helps us realize every emotion we're choosing is actually a choice. I'm choosing to be afraid of hurting their feelings. Well, first off, I'm afraid of hurting their feelings, and I'm choosing that. Choosing that because I think that works for me. Does it really? What would I rather choose? Oh, and then maybe you'll have an awareness. Oh, there's some healing to do. Oh, I need to have this other conversation first. You, within you, you have what it takes to navigate, and your feelings, your energy, the way things land, help you see if something is aligned and harmonious or not. If something feels disharmonious, you get to explore it and then ask to find something that works better. If something is disharmonious, we get to look at, is that because of my story about it? Or because it's truly out of alignment with my own essence? My own essence is joy. My own essence is freedom. My own essence is bliss. That is the truth of who I am. That's the truth of who all of us are. The other stuff is superimposed, which is why we're constantly looking for happiness. We're looking for it outside of us. But anything we find outside of us is temporary. Like, has any happiness you've ever obtained been permanent? No, because we're looking in the wrong place. If we look back at who am I? Who is listening to Kathy's voice right now? Who is that? And you start to become more aware of that. You become more aware of awareness. That awareness is the ever-present presence that's been present through your entire life. And that, if you tap into that more and more, and you allow that to become the predominant thing rather than the story you have of yourself, happiness lies right there. So I'd love to have more conversations like that with you. And if you're interested, pop me a message. We'll chat about that because you are awareness itself. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Hop on over to meetkathywilliams.com and you can listen to the archives, links for all sorts of archives. I'll be back again with author Carol Klein, New York Times bestselling author, in 2 weeks. Have a great time until then. Aloha. Find me on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, IOM.FM, iHeartRadio, you name it. Thank you so much. Yeah, it worked out. It was perfect. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Bye, Christopher. Stay well.